What's up guys, my name is Ace, and welcome back to another gun guide. This is the series where I go into great detail with all of the stats of every one of the weapons in Black Ops Cold War's multiplayer, and in today's episode we're going to be covering the brand new shotgun. This is the 410 Ironhide. And let's not mess around, let's hop right into the range values, which I'm sure a lot of you guys want to see. As you can see here, the 410 Ironhide has the best range profile out of any of the shotguns in this game, and its one-shot kill potential is great at about 13 meters. This is without any attachments as well. Now you can also see with the Task Force barrel, you can slightly increase your one-shot kill range up to 15 meters, but that also decreases your maximum hit potential. Then with the Ranger barrel, this one gives us the best increase to our ranges, and it is generally going to be the best barrel to use. However, we'll get into some details. There is some nuance to this. And then finally, the extended and reinforced barrels boost our damage ranges the same amount. As you can see there, our one-shot kill range is again 15 meters, just like the Task Force barrel. So far as a one-shot kill shotgun, this is looking really good. It's already looking like the best shotgun out there. However, it is worth noting, we do have the worst hipfire in the shotgun category by a pretty noticeable margin here. This is not the type of shotgun you generally want to be hipfiring unless you stack really heavy on hipfire attachments. And even then, you're still generally going to be better off aiming down sight with this. So that is the trade-off for that great one-shot kill potential. It's not going to be a consistent one-shot kill if you're hip-firing. You basically need to aim down sight. And speaking of aiming down sight, we get an amazing tightening of our spread when we aim down sight. Even with no attachments equipped, you can see the difference between hipfire and aim down sight is massive. So you'd absolutely want to aim down sight whenever possible with this gun. However, if you want the smallest possible spread, the V-choke muzzle attachment is the way to go. However, the agency choke also gives us a very tight spread that's almost as good as the V-choke, but just not quite. Now, moving on to our handling stats, for aim down sight time, we actually have by far the best aim down sight time in the shotgun category at 233 milliseconds, which is awesome to see because, like I said, you definitely want to be aiming down sight with this gun, so you can snap on a target pretty quickly, even without attachments. However, unfortunately, our sprint out time is pretty terrible at 417 milliseconds. This is the actual experienced sprint out time in-game, not the stated sprint out time. And this is the slowest in the shotgun category, so this isn't the type of shotgun you can just be sprinting around like crazy without being punished for it. If you get caught sprinting, you're going to find yourself in trouble. But after that, I want to have a look at our reload time, and keep in mind with this shotgun, you do reload each shell individually, and the best way to compare this with the other shotguns is how long does it take to reload 4 rounds. And as you can see here, it's basically tied with the Hipfire 77 at 2.7 seconds, and these are the fastest reloading shotguns in the game. It's also worth noting with the extended tube attachments where you can get extra rounds in the tube, it says that it slows down your reload quickness, but it's just talking about the total amount of time to go from empty to full. The actual reload animation is exactly the same, so don't worry about using those extended tubes. They don't actually slow down your reload time at all. Next up, I did want to talk a little bit about rate of fire because it is a little bit slower in this area compared to the Hipfire 77, and both of these are much slower than the other shotguns because the others are semi-autos and these aren't. But just know it will take you slightly longer to get that follow-up shot off compared to the Hipfire 77, and when we look at our time to kill values, if we don't manage to get that one-shot kill and we require a second shot, our time to kill potential is extremely slow at 952 milliseconds. So that really goes to show how unforgiving this gun is. It is worth taking that little bit of extra time to make sure you get your shot lined up so you're guaranteed the one-shot kill, because in all likelihood, in a face-to-face gunfight, you won't have time for a second shot. But finally, for our important stats I wanted to have a look at here, we have our movement speeds, which are all completely standard for a shotgun. There's really nothing to mention here that's out of the ordinary. And with that, that's going to wrap it up for all of the important stats that I wanted to talk about in today's video. Now let's get into a couple great attachment combinations to use with this. And the first one is, in my opinion at least, simply the best possible attachment combination for this gun. With this, we're using the Microflex LED, which isn't a requirement, but it is nice to make sure you get that perfectly lined up shot. I find with the iron sight on this gun, it doesn't have much contrast to it when you're looking at a target, and therefore you might not be as centered as you might think you are. So the Microflex LED does help here a little bit. Then, of course, we've got the Infantry V-choke, which just gives us the tightest possible spread, and therefore the best chance of a one-shot kill, especially as you start stretching the ranges out a bit. After that, we've got the Ranger barrel, which is going to give us the best possible one-shot kill range and also the best possible hit potential. Then we've got the 8-round tube, just because it's nice to maximize that, and this really has no downsides attached to it. And then finally, we have our Marathon stock. And the reason we're using the Marathon stock is for a few reasons. Primarily to help with our sprint to fire time, because that is a big downside with this gun. Also, our aim walking movement speed, it's nice to have a little bit of a boost in this area because you do want to be aiming down sight with this, and sometimes you want to aim down sight before coming around a corner, so this allows you to strafe out. And then also it just helps with our sprinting movement speed by a noticeable amount, so you can get those routes done a lot faster, which is important with a shotgun. The only downside to this is we do get reduced hipfire accuracy, but that's okay because we shouldn't be hipfiring this shotgun anyway unless we happen to be like completely point blank or we already know that that enemy is hurt. So there you have it. In my opinion, at least, that is the ideal way to run this shotgun. However, I do also have an alternative here, and this one is actually fairly usable when hip firing as long as you're confident with your hip firing. So with this, we're using the agency choke so we can stay off the radar. We do get a tighter hip fire spread with this as well, and a tighter ADS spread, but we're not going to be aiming down sight unless we're really stretching the range out. The only thing that's unfortunate is it will be reducing our sprint to fire time, so we do still have to be aware of sprint out time with this. You still can't be sprinting around like crazy. But after that, we're using the task force barrel, and the reason we're using the task force barrel here instead of the ranger barrel is the task force barrel actually bumps up our damage, which means it's a little bit more forgiving in close range situations for missed pellets. You don't have to hit as many pellets up close, which is going to be very, very helpful while hip firing this shotgun. But next up, we are going to be using the SWAT 5mW laser, and this is just so we get the best hipfire spread possible combined with that agency choke. Once again, we're also using the 8-round tube to get the biggest capacity possible. And then finally on this one, we're going to be using just the standard shotgun stock, which improves our sprint to fire time a little bit. And the main reason we're using this instead of one of the other ones that might help our sprint to fire more is we don't want to hurt our hipfire at all with this setup. We want the best possible hipfire spread, and therefore that's the best way to do it. And like I said, this one's just a little alternative. I don't think it's as good as the first setup that I shared for you, but for those that like hip firing with a one-shot kill weapon, this is pretty much your best bet. Just be very aware that you don't want to get caught sprinting. You want to do everything you can to be ready for your fight beforehand. And with that, that's going to wrap it up for today's gun guide on the 410 Ironhide. As for my opinion on this shotgun, I love it. I think it's a great addition to the other shotguns that are in the game. I love having the type of shotgun that really rewards precision, but has that trade-off where if you do miss that one-shot kill, then you are punished for it. It is really satisfying to be getting a nice one-shot kill with this, especially when you start stretching the range out a bit. Now, of course, this is just my opinion. I'd like to know in the comment section below, what do you guys think of the 410 Ironhide? Do you think this is a really good shotgun? Do you enjoy using this and aiming down sight with it to get those great one-shot kills? Or do you just not like it too much? Just let me know down below. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated. And don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.